Good morning, everybody. I'm here with you in my shop. My name is David, and we got a new project for you today. A bar stool racer. This thing is really cool. I just picked this thing up and I'm super excited to get it finished. Now there's a lot that hasn't been finished on this. Like this motor is not even mounted at all. We've got steering geometry issues. So when you go to steer, it just wants to push. It doesn't really want to steer. We've got, none of this stuff is set up back here. We're missing a brake caliper. What else? We got a lot to do. It's basically just a rolling project at this point. It's a roller. So I don't know a ton about this racing kart stuff, but this has some really nice parts on it. It's got a very nice rear axle. It's got this is like one of the best, if not the best, brake rotors that you can buy, braking systems. Problem is, it doesn't have the caliper, so I had to order the caliper. That's coming. It's got these badass wheels and tires. Got nice billet aluminum hangers and all that stuff. It's got some nice spindles on the front. So yeah, it's got a lot of good stuff going on for it. The engine here is not mounted. The stool just picks up out of there. I don't even know if we need to mount the stool itself, but it's a pretty sporty little racer with some good parts on it. The first thing that's bothering me about this is the handlebars. Let me put you back on the stand. Alright, so the first thing that's bothering me is these handlebars. These handlebars really are just not going to work because they just swing right into your body. They got a lot of pull back, meaning the handlebars pull back this way a lot, and then being so tall. So we could put them like way out here maybe, but it's just extremely awkward. So there's tons of work to do on this, but this is the first thing that's really bothering me. We'll take these bars off. I got a couple other bar options to show you, and we'll start with that. So these are big Harley bars, and they wouldn't fit, they're like 1 inch, or I'm pretty sure they're 1 inch, but they would not fit any of our throttles anyways, but we'll hang on to these. Alright, so our first choice is the other set of bars that came with this. These little drag bars. So these are probably the most promising out of the set that we got. So let's throw these on here. Let's see what they look like. Somebody's done a little bit of welding on these. Sure, they don't look as cool as the apes, but they are much sportier. Gonna steer better. Let's just see what we got here. Alright, so we're going to call these our drag bars. These are our smallest, lowest rise bars. I mean, that makes much more sense. Still feels like we could get, we might need a longer, there's another problem. We might need a longer steering arm here or shorten up on our tie rods, probably do that. And that'll give us a little bit more steering action, because right now, it feels like you got to steer too far to get what you want to get, full steering. So, but yeah, these feel pretty comfortable. And where's that throttle? So this throttle came with our bike, and I believe it's a 7/8 throttle, and these are 7/8 bars, although they're inch in the middle. So our throttle fits on here. So this is a good option. Alright, but for these ones, I don't have any clamps. So we got my scooter over here. So my scooter over here, engine or something is blown up on it. It's not worth fixing anymore. So we're gonna steal some parts off here. We got a good brake handle, cable brake handle here. We've got this brake master cylinder, which we're going to use on this bike. And then we've got a brake disc and a brake caliper that we're going to keep for another project. This fender I put on here, this little chrome fender, so we're gonna pull that off. And I think I'm gonna keep this rear shock here. So we're gonna do a real quick tear down, get that stuff that we need off of this thing. Alright, here's our second set of bars. These are some stock Megamoto 212 Pro bars. Definitely better than the big 8 hangers. They look good. Them being black is definitely a positive. And I think that they would work okay. Not quite as sporty, but you know what? Puts your hands in a good spot. So that's nice. So I might have to try those other ones again because right now I'm leaning towards these. Kind of wish they didn't have quite so much pullback. Gotta get them in there somewhere. I think that those would work pretty good. What do you guys think? Get a picture. Okay. Those are the Megamoto bars. Here are scooter bars. I mean, it's kind of still too much pullback. The bars come back too far. If they were straighter, I think it would feel better. So that's another option. I don't know if these are going to work for this application. But they have a lot less pullback and they're a little bit narrower. I don't know. They look cool. That's for sure. Definitely the least sporty option, more choppery style, but they do kind of look cool. That's for sure. But they don't really feel, you know, put your hands in kind of a weird spot. It's not, I mean, it's not bad. It's not a bad spot. It's not as comfortable as down here though. It's more natural down here for sure. But up here, you know, it's totally fine. And we can steer okay. We can steer just fine. We definitely need to do something about the ratio down here. We can fix that. But this, man, that's going to be a tough choice to make. That's our first quandary here. Which bars are we going to run? Alright, so now that we've got all of our bars tested out, let's go ahead and move on. We're going to think about this for a little bit. And then we're going to move on to messing with this steering. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and take this other stuff off here that's just sitting on here, like this guy. That comes right off. The motor is not bolted down. It's one of those little 79 cc's from Harbor Freight. Looks pretty much brand new. And that's what you're left with right there. A shortened up go-kart. Alright, so we got our cart over here on the bench because I want to start addressing the front suspension or front geometry issues. So what they've done here is, it looks like when they welded this the front knuckles on, they put them basically vertical. So you need a fair amount of caster for these things to steer properly. Right now, with the knuckles welded straight up and down, this thing is going to wander all over the place. It's not going to want to steer very well at all, really. So we got to come in here and we got to cut these knuckles off and we got to lean them back. That's what the caster is. So, you know, right now the kingpin looks like this, and we need to lean it this way so that it has that shopping cart effect of wanting to self-center. And also when it turns into a corner, it causes the tires to turn in a certain way that helps the cart steer as well. So that's a huge thing. The other thing we got to worry about is the Camber angle. And I can tell you right now from turning this, this tire is supposed to turn a lot sharper than this tire, and it's not doing that. So it's kind of doing the opposite. there is some stuff we can do to make that better. And then also I want to try and quicken the steering wheel. So we got a few things to do to mess with to try and make this work, to try and make this thing steer better. Alright, so the first thing we need to do though is we got to get these wheels off so that we can, this thing will sit level and we can get some measurements. And we'll get these front wheels off as well. Alright, let's see what we got as far as camber goes. Camber is the wheels tilt this way and that way, so that is 3 degrees. That's another thing I want to correct. We're going to have to cut these knuckles off. We're shooting for 0 camber, but 15 degrees of caster, or 18 degrees of caster. So we got to lean this knuckle back to 18 degrees. Let's see where it is right now. About 4.2 degrees. Lean in the right direction? Yeah. So right now it's about 4.2 degrees back is all. Let's see what this one says. And this one says 2.8. So we're going to try and get both of these right at 18 degrees. Lean them back that way, and then we can start messing with some of the other stuff. So we got that handled. As far as now we have the proper caster angle and the proper camber angle, which is 0, caster angle being 18 degrees back. I'm not sure what this was for. We're going to go ahead and cut it out, and then because the way we leaned everything and the way things are lining up, I want to actually move this steering stem forward just a smidge. And then we're going to end up re-drilling the knuckles to move these tie rods inboard just a little bit. It's either that or we have to extend this, which moving these inboard is going to be a lot easier than extending this. So that's the plan. We're going to scoot this forward about probably just like a ½ an inch, and then we're going to go ahead and re-drill these so that we can move those forward as well. So we got something going on here. Okay, so I've made a fixture for the front end. I went ahead and cut the steering arms off both sides, cleaned up the knuckles, and we're re-angling them because they were angled way down like this. So we're re-angling them, and we're trying to get the correct Ackerman angle. Well, let's just talk about how I have this rigged up. So yeah, I got this level here, and then we got these little pieces of angle here that I just had laying in my fabrication box over there. Went ahead and clamped this level onto the front axle, and then these fit in here perfectly just to provide that spacing between this spacer and the axle. And now this thing is squared up really good, and we can work on welding our steering arms on. Now, since I cut these off, a little bit has been cut off, so that's going to get us more closer to one-to-one steering, or because we got this little short arm here. Now they're shorter, they're closer to being similar, so we'll have more steering, quicker steering, more steering, a little bit harder steering, but it's not an issue. Anyway, so we got to weld these on, and we're trying to get the perfect Ackerman angle. And the Ackerman angle has to do with, one, when you're turning into a corner, say you're making a left-hand turn. This is the left wheel right here. So this one needs to turn sharper than the one out there, because that one's going to go around, and this one has to make a really sharp turn. Well, before, because of the way the steering geometry was, it didn't do that at all. In fact, it kind of did the opposite. The outside wheel looked like it was turning more than the inside wheel. So we need the opposite of that to happen, and what you do to get that is this arm, from what I've been reading, needs to be angled toward the center of the rear axle. So I got the center of the rear axle measured there, and I put the arm up here, and I took a tape measure and kind of a straight edge and gauged it out to there, and then I figured out what angle that was with my angle finder here. Okay, so we settled on an angle of 72 degrees, or actually, so that would be, 72 degrees, which makes it 18 degrees off of being square to this. So if this was welded on here and it was completely square, it would be 90 or whatever, but we moved it in 18 degrees this way, and that points it towards the center of the rear axle, and that should cause it to steer the inner wheel more. I'm not 100% sure on this. I'm a real novice when it comes to this steering geometry stuff, so I'm learning here, and we're about to see if I'm proven right. So we're going to get both of these arms welded on here, or tacked on here, and then we're going to test the steering. But actually, we have to take these, we're going to have to shorten these, because they're too long now. So we'll get these tacked on. We'll get these guys tacked on here, and then we'll measure. We'll get these cut down. Hopefully they're threaded all the way through. If not, we'll have to start running some taps down through there. So I'm going to get those steering arms welded in there. I'm going to get these links, tie rod ends shortened up, and then we'll check back in with you guys when this thing is steering again, and we'll see if I'm right about this whole Ackerman angle thing. Alright, there we go. We got everything hooked up. Now it's time to cut the zip ties. See if my master plan has worked. Okay. Those out of there. This out of here. Okay, so if you're turning this way, that's about all that we have. Oh yeah, we're hitting that. Now we're hitting the spindle. So we could get a little bit more by clearancing the spindle there. But let's see at full lock. Oh, we don't have this tightened. If this wheel over here is turning more than the other one. Because we're just tacked together at this point. So let's see what we got here. So we're cranked all the way this way. Oh, I noticed earlier that my measurement was it's not really 18 degrees off of center. It's much milder than that. But I'm measuring this edge here on this arm, which has already got an angle in it. So that adds to the angle. It's only a couple of degrees really that it's pointed. Okay, so let's see. So if we come across here, 22.5 degrees on this side, and we've got about 29 on this side. So there you go. It worked. So now I need to come in here, I need to finish welding these, but that goes to show you right there, that whole Ackerman thing, that actually worked. So now we have the proper geometry as far as we have caster now, which we had 0 before. Oh no, we had a couple degrees before, like 3 or 4 degrees before. Now we have 18 degrees of caster. And then we zeroed out the camber, so we're totally 0 on camber. And then, which that kind of makes it so that when you actually sit on this thing, it probably forces it up and to have just a tiny bit of camber. Some of the carts, they actually run a positive camber so that when they sit on it, I don't think this one flexes that much, but they'll run a positive camber so that when they sit on it, it becomes, you know, it becomes flat. The tires become flat. But yeah, so here we are. That works. So, camber. Oh yeah. So, and then our Ackerman angle, you know, that whole thing worked out. You know, I just kind of pointed them towards the center there. When these were first on here, they were pointed probably maybe to the bearing or maybe somewhere right in here. And now we have it pointed much closer to the actual center of this thing. So I'd say, yeah, probably just off center. So we could probably gain a little bit more Ackerman angle if we wanted to, but now we're having steering clearance. There's, you know, you gotta give and take. So we got some Ackerman angle, and now we're gonna take this back off. I'm gonna clear into the back of these hubs so we can just get a little bit more steering out of this. And then this is done. We put it all back together for now. Take these out of here. Oh yeah, we gotta take the steering arms off. We gotta finish welding those, do some clearancing, and then we'll check back in with you. All right, here we are. We are 100% steering. We are steering. Woo. That's perfect. Doesn't do anything weird. Feels great. Looks good. Feels good. Geometry is good. Alright, so I did some more finish work on this thing. Like I welded this in completely. That was kind of tacked in. There was a bracket here that we took off. There was a bracket here that hung down that we took off. And I tried to clean up. Clean up the welds here and here because those are a little messy. But yeah, it's looking good. Here we are. So hopefully that is enough steering. Otherwise we can come in here in these knuckles and we can try to clearance them a little bit more to give us just a little bit more steering out of it. But I'm thinking that that's a lot. Look at that. Look how turned that one is. We can always come in and do some more clearancing on the knuckles, which we probably will when we take it apart again. We'll mark exactly where it is rubbing. We'll get in there with a file just so we can get that just a little bit, you know, like another degree or so steering out of it. I clearanced the whole back of the knuckle, but I didn't really focus on this one spot where the steering arm is actually hitting. So we can get in there and just clearance that one spot. Make a little bit more room, but I bet this is going to be fine. So I think that's all we're going to have time for in this video. This thing is it's a pretty good project. We came in here and I rounded off these corners too, and I rounded off these corners. I didn't like, you know, square corners here, square corners on here. You know, we got to clean that stuff up, got to make it a little bit nicer. Alright, so I think that's going to be it for this part of the build. We got the steering all figured out, along with, you know, we got our bars figured out. We got our front end geometry done. We got our steering rods lengthened. We got everything to do with the front of this thing is pretty much finalized. Drop a comment below and let me know what you guys think about my new bar stool racer project here. The next episode, I'm pretty sure that's pretty much all we got to do at this point. We got to get an engine on here. So we got this little 79cc engine. Our other option is a 212 Predator. So, but yeah, next episode we'll get an engine on here and hopefully we'll at least take this thing for a little bit of a ride. And then I think this one's going to get a full paint job and everything. Make it a pretty nice little cruiser. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of this project. Drop a comment below and tell me what you think about our little racer. Tell me if you want to see a 212 in here, if you want to see that 79cc in here. But yeah, I'm super stoked on this thing. I love this little project. I got it for a good deal. It's got some good stuff on it, so we just gotta finish a project that never got finished. You know, there's tons of them out there, so. Go ahead and smash that like button for me, hit that subscribe button, and click the bell if you would like to get notified of new videos coming out every Wednesday and Saturday. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.